Good afternoon to all of you. I really don't know what the context of this is, so I will say what I have been asked to talk about, and that is about academia-industry interface in the higher education space. So let me talk about this in 2 or 3 different ways. I think we all know this. This is a group of people who already understand the context. We all know this, that while India has stark numbers on unemployment, I think our numbers on unemployability are starker. So there are a lot more people that are educated but not employable. And they are, and if they are educated, if they have spent the time and the money to get a degree and they're not employable, I think all the places that they went to for their education have to take some responsibility, because somebody gave them a degree but possibly didn't teach them everything that was necessary for them to be employable. Because that's a minimum that I guess a graduate should have. Whether I know every single concept and whether I can think sophisticatedly or not may or may not be always guaranteed, but the fact that you are employable has to be guaranteed. But that's not our reality. And if you look at all the various reports, whether it is India Skill Report, whether it is National Employability Report, whether it is, it doesn't matter, everyone shows the numbers to be more than 50% of our graduates have been found to be unemployable. In fact, the situation is so bad that organizations like, some years ago, Wipro's and the Infosys and the TCS decided that they will take somebody right after college, 4 years of BTech, and then put them through a 12 to 18-month boot camp to actually make them to get them to be productive. Yeah. So what was happening during these 4 years? We need to ask that question. Why do I need, when somebody can be prepared in 18 months for doing a job in a TCS or an Infosys or a Polaris or whatever it is, why did that person need to spend 4 years studying whatever they were studying? And in fact, as a company, I don't find people, I have to find a solution. Crores of rupees were spent creating these training places. If you've ever been to the Infosys Leadership Institute, International Leadership Institute in Mysore, it's a beautiful, campus, but it majorly spends crores of rupees on training graduates to make them employable. And I think the most recent studies also show that, in fact, if you are a woman in a rural, informal, uneducated, you have the best chance of getting a job. And the chances of getting a job as you go up actually go down. So if you are a male graduate from an urban place, you have the least chances of getting an employment in the area that you've studied. So I think all I'm trying to say is that there is a case for every higher education institution to start thinking, what are we doing that needs to possibly be corrected to ensure that we are not spending dollars or money, taxpayers' money, on an education which is not leading to employability. The second, another way of looking at this argument is that, if you look at the gross productivity index, if you look at the 2022 study, the study on productivity index across countries, they have only done 65 countries, I think it is 65 or maybe 55, and India is 51st in the rank. So and they have used the most simplest measure for the time spent and the output that is got. India is among the lowest. Yeah, they haven't even done some of the countries that are possibly below us, but in the rank that they have looked at, we are the lowest. A lot of the Scandinavian countries are at the highest. So if they are at 8.5, we are at 0.2. Yeah, that's the scale at which, how poor our productivity is. And if you disagree, if you're an economist, and if you think that is not the right way to compute productivity, there is another index, CLEMS, which is a multiple, you take multiple things into looking at computing productivity. Again, it's a worldwide study. RBI in India does it for India, and the 1920 results, the 1921 data has been collected but hasn't yet been analyzed. 22 is still being collected, but the 1920 data that has been collected and analyzed, our labor productivity is 0.3. So, and it's not that our labor doesn't work or it doesn't want to work or whatever it is, but the fact is that they're not as productive as they can be. And our productivity index even there across OECD countries is very low. So then I think the question comes to us is how and what do we do to ensure that the higher education institutions of India are able to actually produce employable youth or employable graduates. I think the obvious place that we start to look at is what is happening with the curriculum of these places. And if you look at the curriculum of many of these places, fortunately or unfortunately mostly, they have not been updated, sometimes as long as 40 years, and the recent, some places look at it every 8-10 years. In an industry that you all work in the kind of places we are talking about, you can't look at your curriculum even 8-10 years. Yeah, you possibly need to look at it every 2 years, if at all. And of course, how do you look at your curriculum every 2 years? That only happens when you also get the industry which is going to employ these graduates to be an integral part of your curriculum review and development process. And therefore, the industry, rather than spending so much money in training people after they have graduated, possibly needs to also start looking at, can we start looking at how do we support the universities in their curriculum development process, in their curriculum transaction process. So development of the curriculum, there are a lot of people, we've done this over so many, I'll talk about what we've been doing at the Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship University. We've done this, we've found that it's very easy for people to come and give you advice. Ye padha do, wo padha do, ye kar do, wo kar do, right? But if you tell them, will you train my faculty to do this? We don't have time. Will you send some of your people to do this? We don't have time. Humko apna industry chalana hai. True, but if the industry which is at the cutting edge is not willing to invest in it, then also you will never be able to actually make sure that the people you want to employ are actually up to mark. The resistance only doesn't come from the industry side. The faculty has equal resistance. I was at a meeting which was about higher education and so on and so forth. Somebody made this point, it is a shame that, and this was a vice-chancellor of a university, he said, it's a shame that the industry should tell us what to teach. When I was a student, academics told industry what to think. Yeah, maybe it is a shame, maybe it is not. Yeah, maybe that whole mindset is also problematic. I don't think because I became an academic, because I did my PhD 30 years ago, I will always be able to tell the industry, what it should think and what it should do. I think both of us have to start appreciating each other. And both of us have to start thinking of us as real partners, not as adversaries. It is industry and academia which have to work together if we really want to create graduates that are employable. Also, not just in curriculum development, not just in transaction, but in real, I think the real investment comes from if the industry is also able to innovatively think of how to involve the faculty in its development. Because the faculty needs sometimes real projects. It needs the exposure to be able to go into an industry and understand what it is that it needs to do. And therefore, I think it's so important that we think of how we want to work on the industry-academia partnership. Also, at the Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship University, which got formed only 2 years ago, we made this a mandate for the university that no course will be designed sitting in the offices of the academia. We also said no course will be fully designed by industry either, because there are certain things that academia does well and knows well, and there are certain things that industry knows well and does well. Can we do a marriage of both? Because unless we do that, we will have an either-or situation. And therefore, the 12 degree courses that we floated at the university, which are completely related to jobs, we had the industry and the academia work together to develop the curriculum. And I can tell you for sure, those conversations were not easy. Yeah, just getting both of them to commit to spending the time talking to each other was difficult. Having committed, getting them to continue to put in the time was difficult. And then when they did talk to each other, there was a lot of, I know better than you and you know better and you know less than me, right? How do you manage that dynamic? Requires a certain amount of, I think, maturity on all fronts to be able to do that. And I think it is never a matter of I know better or you know better. We just know different things. Can we merge both of them to talk about it? And so we, so as a university, we not only developed these courses with the industry, we also said they will become partners in our transactions. So for example, certain things of the course must be taught by the industry, by people who are in the industry. Easier said than done. Industry, if you say the class is from 10 to 12, as an academic, that is written in stone. Yeah, it doesn't change. If it is 10 to 12 on a Thursday, on a certain day, then it is 10 to 12 on a Thursday for at least most academics. Industry will call at 10 to 10 saying, I have a very urgent meeting, I'm going to postpone the class. Yeah. How do you manage timetables? How do you get that going? So again, for the industry to really commit to it, because there is a certain logic in which an academia will run, and there is a certain logic in which the industry will run. And these logics are not the same. And unless we are willing to accept each other's logic and respect them, if you are coming into my space, please respect my logic. If I'm coming into your space, please, I need to respect your logic. I think we always need to adjust, but we can't make certain these kinds of adjustments. The second thing that is very interesting that happens when you have the industry come and teach, after having shared their experiences for like 2 or 3 sessions where they're really popular, they don't know what to do for the 4th session. Yeah. Again, you need to put in the effort. The industry needs to put in the effort to really design and then teach the course. And sometimes that effort is sometimes missing or possibly not even appreciated that it needs to be put in. And the third thing that happens is when the industry comes to teach, 5th class onwards, some new person will start coming. Yeah, some new faculty will appear. Can't do that again. Yeah. So again, it's a great learning for both of us. How do we recognize that this is what happens when you get the industry to come in and teach? For them to recognize some of our inflexibilities when we expect you to teach. But I think unless we have these conversations, I'm not saying this at all as a criticism, but I'm saying unless we had this real experience, we will never know how to design better and how to work with each other. And therefore, I think it's important that all of us work together to solve for something that I think affects all of us, whether I'm an academic or whether I'm an industry. And that is, can I have people who are more ready to work in the field that they're studying for? And if that needs to be done, I think we just have to partner with each other. There's no other way that we can do. Thank you very much.